Hello, I'm Dr. Terry Susan Fine, Content Specialist for the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship, which is part of the School of Politics, Security, and International Affairs at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. Welcome to our Middle School Civics Highlights series. Today we focus on Benchmark 1.5, in which we will describe how British policies and responses to colonial concerns led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence. In Part 2, we focus on recognizing underlying themes of British colonial policies. Those specific policies focused on taxation, representation, and individual rights. These foci formed the basis for the American colonists' desire for independence. So we're going to be focusing our attention today on this image that we're looking at that was first published in a newspaper in 1754, specifically in the Pennsylvania Gazette. So take a look at the image, and there are three elements of this image that I would like you to focus on. And then after we have focused on those three elements of the image, we will also give our attention to why do these three elements fit together? How do they fit together? And why are they important to help us understand how they connect to the American colonists' desire for independence? So here we see, for example, that this looks like a snake. We see the tail of the snake on the left. We see the mouth of the snake and the eyes and the tongue on the right. And so when we think about a snake, we think about the idea that a snake, even though it might be very small, is very powerful. But when we chop up the snake, so that's sort of our second theme that we're going to be looking at, when we chop up the snake becomes powerless, right? The snake becomes powerless, and the snake is going to die if it gets chopped up into pieces. So what do each of those pieces represent? Well, we see above and to the left a little bit of the head of the snake, we see NE, which we would assume focuses on New England. Going to the left, New York. Then we see other pieces, an M sort of in the middle of the snake. That would likely focus on Massachusetts. The V focusing on Vermont, NC, North Carolina, etc. So we see these different colonies that were functioning in the colonial government, functioning under British rule. And in essence, what they were suggesting was that these different colonies were broken up. They were disconnected from each other, and thus they might die as a result of that. And what do we see as our third theme? Join or die. What does it mean to join or die? That means if we don't come together, we will not exist, and we cannot exist. Join or die. So let's go back to that caption of this cartoon. This particular cartoon has been attributed to Benjamin Franklin, who played a very important role in the Declaration of Independence, even though he himself never became president in later governments. Still, from 1754 to 1776, 22 years. And when we're focusing on that 22-year difference, the colonists had a lot of experiences, many of which were peaceful because they did function for so long as colonists. And then when King George III rose to power, he was so abusive with his power, that it became impossible for the colonists to function, and that's why they decided to eventually declare their independence. But the only way that independence could succeed was for them to join together and to be unanimous in their support for that independence. And so even though the cartoon was much older than the independence movement, the focus on independence in the 1770s, the symbolism was critical to communicating to the colonists. If we don't join together, meaning we might lose a little bit of our independence from each other, we might have to agree to do things across borders, we might have to agree to get along, even though we might have different perspectives on various issues, so that we can come together, form our own country. Otherwise, the result is going to be that we are going to die. Do you still have questions? If so, please contact us using the information that appears on the screen. Thank you for joining me for Middle School Civics Highlights. Till next time, I'm Dr. Terry Susan Fine. Thank you for joining me.